It's time for writing. We love writing. You guys have become such good writers this year. I'm so proud of you. And remember, we've started a new type of writing. We're writing those fiction stories. And remember, fiction stories are make believe, they're not real. Now, we can choose to use someone who's real that we know, but we can make something happen for them that's not real, and we can make a fiction story. And so we're working on our fiction stories, and there's some things that we need to remember. We've talked about characters. We have to think up a character that our story is going to be about. And remember, characters are everywhere. It can be animals. It can be people. It could be something like an alien, right? It could be like a community helper. You could write about a fireman or a policeman or a grocery store worker or a doctor, somebody out in our community. You could write about something totally make believe, like a dragon. You could write about a knight going on a quest. Maybe he's going to slay the dragon. You could write about a fairy. You could make up a fun story about a fairy out in the woods, a prince or a princess, a superhero. But remember, these are your own characters. You're thinking up your own characters. So we're not going to write a story about Batman or Superman as a superhero, but maybe you want to make up a superhero who is a superhero who works with the mail and delivers the mail, but in a superhero special kind of way, not like a regular postman. So you could have him do something super, how he's able to deliver all the mail all at once or something. Think up your own creature, your own character, all these things. Think of your own prince or princess, not Cinderella and Snow White. We've already heard those stories. Make up your own new story. So the first thing you've got to do for a fiction story is think of your character. Then the next thing we've got to do is think of our setting. So we're thinking about, where do we want this story to take place? If it's a fairy, it might happen in the woods. If it's a superhero delivering the mail, it might happen in the city. If it's a story about a teacher or a kid, it might happen at a school. It could happen at a beach. Maybe it's happening on the moon. Maybe it's an astronaut on the moon. A prince or a princess might be in a new kingdom that you think up. A story could happen on a ship. It could happen at a farm. You could make a fun story about a cow on a farm and what that cow did. Something really funny, even maybe. And you could think about a spaceship, a rocket ship going to outer space. That could be a place where your story happens. It could happen on the ship. It could happen out in space. Stories can happen anywhere. So first we have to think of a character, and we have to think of a setting. And then remember our story hand, we said character, setting, and we want to have 1, 2, 3 events that happen in our story. So those are the really important things we need to think of before we ever start writing. So I'm going to think about a character for my fiction story that I'm going to write. And you guys know I love my dog Bennett, and I love to tell you stuff about him. And I've told you some true funny stuff that he did. Like, remember we wrote that story about him getting the corn cob out of the trash can? I mean, that was real. He did that, and he took it to the couch and ate the corn on the cob. He does those crazy things. But I want to write a fiction story about him. So I'm going to use a real event and a real character. I'm going to use my dog Bennett. I'm going to use some things that he does. And I'm going to use a real event like walking in the woods, because that's something real we do. But I'm going to make a fiction story out of it. So my story's going to be about him. It's going to take place in the woods. So I think I'm going to think about maybe in the woods, like walking by a lake, because we do that sometimes. We like to take Bennett and we go for walks on the around the lake. But I'm going to pretend, because this is not real, I'm going to pretend that Bennett got lost. Thank goodness he has never done that. But I'm going to pretend that he got lost. And so he's kind of got to go on a quest, got to come find his way back. Now, remember we said when you're going to write a story, a fiction story, there's lots of different choices for your story. It could be just something funny, like this dog digging and burying the underwear and said, ha ha ha, he'll never find his underwear. It could just be something funny. It could be good versus evil. There might be an evil villain that the character has to overcome. It could be happily ever after, that the story is just a happy ever after story. It's just a happy story and good things happen. It could be one other one, a quest. And that's what I'm going to do. Now, this is a quest. He's going to train the dragon is his quest. They've got to try to accomplish something. My quest is just going to be for Bennett. He's going to be lost. He's just going to find his way back home. Okay. So we think of what our character is going to be, Bennett. I think about my setting. It's going to happen in the woods by the lake. And I've got to have 3 things that happen. Now, he's going to be on a quest to find his way back home, right? So as I think about him and what he's doing, Sometimes in stories, characters ask for help. And since he's trying to find his way home, it'd be a good thing for him to do, for him to ask for help. So if he's in the woods, let's think about who he could ask for help. Let's see. He could ask a rabbit for help, maybe a squirrel. He could ask for help, and maybe a raccoon. So that'll be the three things that we have him do. So I think we're going to say that we have Bennett in the woods, my character, my setting, and then he's going to ask three different characters for help: a rabbit, a raccoon, and a squirrel. That would be the three things that happen is he will ask those three. So I've got all my plans made. I'm all ready. So I'm ready to get up my paper and start writing. I can't wait to start this story. Follow along as I write this story. Okay, now that I've got my story all planned out, I'm ready to write. I've put so much thought and so much effort into writing my story that I want to make sure it's got a great beginning. And this will help grab my reader's attention so that they will really enjoy reading my story. So I need to think about what I can write for my beginning. Stories need great beginnings. Here's a few ideas of things that we could use as a great beginning. Look at this first one. Once upon a time. Lots of stories start like that. Once upon a time, this happened. Here's another idea. One spring day. Could tell us when it happened. One spring day, one winter day, one summer day. Kind of gets our attention, lets us know what's happening. What about this? There once was a dog named Bennett. There once was a superhero who delivered the mail. You can decide. That's a great way to start a story. Ooh, look at this one. On a dark and stormy night. Ooh, on a dark and stormy night. Ooh, maybe something's going to happen then. On a beautiful spring day. Ooh, on a cold winter day. See how we can use what the temperature is like or what's going on to be a great story, to start our story. What about this one? On a planet far away. Ooh, if you were writing about that astronaut going out into space or that alien in space, you could tell us where it's happening. On a planet far away, there was an alien. Start your story with a great beginning. Deep in the forest, there was a little fairy. You might start your story that way. Under the deep blue sea, maybe you're going to make a story about a character that's in the ocean, and you started your story under the deep blue sea. So a story needs a great beginning. So I'm going to think my story is about Bennett, and he's walking around the lake. I'm thinking I'm going to go with something about it being a spring day, a spring morning, because I think that would be a good start for my story. So I'm going to get started writing now that I've got my beginning. All right, so I've got my paper here and I'm ready to write. And remember, I thought of my great beginning. So I'm going to say one spring morning. So one spring morning. So I've told you when this is happening. I've given it a beginning to kind of catch your interest. One spring morning, Bennett, I use a capital letter on his name because it's a proper noun. It's his name. One spring morning, Bennett decided to, we know that one, go for, we know the word for, that's a word wall word. Go for a walk. And then I'm going to put a period there. That's the end of my sentence. Now I'm beginning my next new sentence. He saw, what did he see? Let's see. Flowers blooming. Because, it's springtime. He might have seen some flowers blooming out there. He saw flowers blooming. How about puffy clouds? Because, it's a pretty spring morning, so he could see some puffy clouds up in the sky. He saw flowers blooming, puffy clouds, and how about we use our sense of hearing what he heard? And he heard birds chirping. So one spring morning, Bennett decided to go for a walk. He saw flowers blooming, puffy clouds, and heard birds chirping. So we're using those senses. It was a beautiful, now I've got to remember to where this happened, right? Because I got to tell the setting. It was a beautiful day in the woods. So there we go. I've told who and I've told what, and I've given a great beginning to my story. Now I'm going to work on my, so I want to show you my illustration that I've drawn now. that goes with my story. I've told you this is about Bennett. So I've got Bennett really big and focused in the middle of the page there. And you can tell he's really a curly dog. And he's got that crazy floofy tail that he's got. And I told you that he saw flowers blooming. So I put my flowers in. And that he saw puffy clouds. So I've got some clouds up in the sky. And then he heard the birds chirping. So I made sure I put those birds in and made that just look like our beautiful day in the woods. So there Bennett is out going for his walk in the woods. So today I want you to work on your fiction story. You may have already started one. And if you have, keep going on that fiction story and be telling us those 3 things that happened in your fiction story. But if you don't have one that you've already started and you're starting a new one today, then think about that great beginning. How could you give it a really good something to grab, to capture the reader when they read it so that they're thinking, I want to hear more. I want to find out what happens. So today, spend a little bit of time working on your writing and then record yourself reading it to me. I can't wait to hear your writing.